I'm here at the Call of Duty Stage 2 Finals. I'm standing right next to caster Maven. And Maven, how's the tournament been so far for you?
Oh, it's been great. I mean, we've had a ton of upsets, surprises, especially for North America. I casted the Optic loss in Game 7. I casted the FaZe loss in Game 7. It's been interesting, but, it shakes things up. Getting closer to COD XP, building some of these other guys that maybe don't have as big of fan bases is exciting stuff for sure.
That's something I want to talk to you about because Call of Duty is really on the verge of exploding into the esports scene. Obviously, it's a massive game in terms of player base, but it hasn't really made that jump into the traditional esports space. What do you think it has to do? What do you think Activision has to do to make sure that it gets into that space?
Well, yeah, it's usually floating around, top 5 esport, usually around that 5th spot. But yeah, I mean, the big thing is you look at COD. It's like 40 million active users a month, but a lot of these guys, they're casual players. They play your public matches, Team Slayer, don't really focus on the esports side of it. So yeah, I mean, I think if you talk about ceilings in esports, COD has one of the highest by far. It's just figuring out ways to capture it. And there's two big parts for me personally. I can't exactly speak for Activision, but when it comes to me, capturing it in game, one of the ways that, say, League of Legends blew up, it's once they started to have in-game ladders, in-game streaming of the matches, all that type of stuff. So getting free tournaments that these kids can hop into and play, learn more about the CWL. Maybe they're not even familiar with Twitch. A lot of these guys aren't. So getting them involved more in the actual game, I think, is one of the biggest pieces. And then if you compare it to something like, Counter-Strike on the other side, 80% of their viewership comes from Europe. For us, it is really going to be big about growing Europe. And one of the struggles we've seen so far is when you take a look at it, probably your biggest followings in Europe for Call of Duty, I'd say like Germany, Spain, France. But when you look at the top 6 teams, they're all from the UK. So it's finding ways to grow these guys, and now there's been so much more money in Europe, more time for teams to focus on playing it, becoming a profession, not focusing as much maybe on having to work a full-time job when you can make money that way, building these other countries, finding ways to make it more of a global esport. And for this year, it was mostly focused on, we have North America, you have Europe, you have the Australia, New Zealand regions, finding ways to continue to expand it globally and bring more of that European audience in, I think, is one of the biggest pieces by far.
Now, this is the first year that Activision has really stepped into the esports space. What are some of the lessons that you're hoping they're learning from this year?
Well, it's been big because, the Activision team comes in. They've been getting more and more people involved that are more familiar with esports. But at the beginning, you're working with a lot of guys that are kind of just getting their feet wet, just getting involved. And yes, it's been a learning curve big time for them because a lot of people will say, oh, Activision's been involved with maybe MLG in the past and running events. But for the most part, this is the first year they're really behind the brand, really getting behind esports. But, it's a lot of different things from rule sets to where you run events to how you promote. It's been a giant learning curve. But I can say, working with that team, specifically on esports, everybody busting their asses to get more and more involved, get a better understanding around COD esports, and make sure it's growing for everyone. And, I can't speak to it too much, but, being involved in talking about plans for coming years, it's going to be great, man. There's a lot of hope, a lot of high praise for what I've been hearing from the Activision side. They know what they're doing, man. There's a reason it's one of the biggest companies when you're talking about gaming. It's going to be figured out. It's going to continue to grow. Looking forward to 2017, 2018.
All right, right on. There's a bit of stigma around Call of Duty as far as coming from a more traditional esports space, especially considering that it's a console game. What are some of the things that you're hoping will break that stigma? Is there a way that you can get around that?
It's tough. I mean, you have the whole PC master race. That's the thing that's probably never going to exactly go away. I have friends, that are PC gamers. They know that I work on COD. I mean, they bust it on me all the time, and it's just a stigma that I think will take time. When you see the viewership grow, when you see the fan bases that some of these players have, I mean, numbers speak for themselves. As it continues to grow, I think it'll be taken more seriously. But that whole PC versus console thing, it's existed for 20 years. I don't think it's exactly going to go anywhere, but there are certainly things we can do internally on camera to keep helping legitimize COD esports. And I think just, again, the more it grows, the more it's taken seriously by some of these other communities, the better it is for all. Because you got to look at it, I mean, it's basically we're one team. Everyone wants esports to grow, right? I don't watch a Counter-Strike event and think, oh man, their numbers are so high, this is awful for us. No, the more people that are coming in and watching esports in general, it's good for everybody.
All right, man. Thank you so much for talking to us today. For more from the Call of Duty Stage 2 Finals, this is Taylor Cocke for Yahoo Esports.